Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this week's live M3 class, and lots going on in the markets. Kind of quiet, but setting up for potentially some moves here. So today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the total market cap, kind of look at some altcoins that may be ready to move, look at some news, and just cover the bases as usual. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen. The big news, of course, is the Clarity Act. We'll get into that. It's inching closer, and that can move this market either way. So I'll just hop over, just taking a quick look at Bitcoin. We'll come back to this. Breaking up above the 50-day EMA, which is good. We'd like to see that breakout retest and then resumption. So I think we're setting up for a move higher here. We posted the other day on Instagram, things like that I think it'll go to 70K. And, we'll see. The problem with that is at 70K, that's where we can see those sellers using our sell block indicator. That midpoint is also that 21-week exponential moving average. And as we always say, this is like being under the ice. The green ice is the thick ice. If you're out on a lake water skating, or ice skating rather, you want to be on top of thick ice. Is that right? So if you fall below the top layer of ice, at least you have the thick ice, the green, the 50-week EMA. And once you're down below the thin ice, though, it's kind of like you're in trouble. Once that thick ice, the 50-week EMA breaks, you're drowning. Come up, hit your head on the ice, can't find the hole to escape. Basically, you're dead. So what we really want to see, what we need to see to be bullish in these markets is be back above the ice, back above the 50-week EMA to be bullish, and ideally, and really before big moves can happen, the 21-day crossing up above the 50. That's when we see the biggest moves coming out of a recovery zone. We kind of get above the 21 and 50. Generally, there's consolidation sideways, and then we look for our signals to align: a big buy order block, our early reversal indicator, and our trend strength indicator, bullish divergence. We nailed it right here. This was the confluence back here in September, October of 2023. Caught that big move back when we had the Retire Rich class and nailed some 600, I think it was 568% gains on injective and some things like that. And then here again, came back down and retested the thick ice, right? So held support here with a bullish engulfing candle and shot up even more, another retest there to the highs, where I called the top inside of this sell block. And if you are watching a clip of this somewhere, you can find out more about our signals at cryptomastery.org. These are the best indicators out there that I've ever used in 25 years of trading, and we've developed them to be that. But clearly we can see the sellers here. We still have sellers. Now, why do I think we go to 50K? We've been talking about it for months. This is where the buyers are. Just like the bank robbers, when they arrest bank robbers, they ask them, why do you rob banks? They say, that's where the money is. This is where the money is, everybody. So don't get too excited on this counter trend rally here. I don't think the bottom is in. The Clarity Act should give us a boost, but this is that danger zone. Has to clear 75K on a weekly basis, at least 70K, but 75K, and do something along these lines to have any hope of the bottom being in. So, some people are saying, it's like I was just reading this morning, Michael Saylor saying he thinks the bottom is in. I don't think so. I defer to his genius, but clearly a lot of sell pressure here. The buyers are all lined up between 49,000 and 55,000. So we'll see. This is where I think the bottom is. Some people are saying 40K or lower. They're going to miss the move, in my opinion. All right, so let's hop over. I want to talk about the Clarity Act here briefly. And we'll get through things pretty quickly today. I know everyone's busy. So closing in on the Clarity Act, this is from CNBC. There was a report yesterday that President Trump had signed off on the ethics provisions from the Democrats. Now, we don't know exactly what that means. And certainly Senator Liz Warren won't sign this thing no matter what. But the point is, they're getting closer to getting a deal done either way. So let me just read this. The report yesterday, the Republicans' White House ethics. So far, the Democrats are not privy to this, still have concerns. These next weeks are critical. Yeah, they're not going to sign off on this willy-nilly. They know that they have an opportunity to negotiate more things that they want. We covered this in last week's class as well. Certainly the Democrats know this is very important to the Republicans and really to the world, and they have more of the cards than than normal, so they're going to negotiate as much as they can to get some things that they want, So we've covered that last week. If you missed it, go ahead and watch that replay. So anyway, let me just pause this because we've been following Polymarket. Kalshi is the same prediction market. So before, they're saying now the odds have increased that we'll get it done this year, but still doesn't look like they're going to pass it by the August deadline before they go into recess. I don't know. I think they'll still try to do that. I remember I saw Senator Hildebrand speak live at Consensus Miami. That's, of course, CoinDesk's live event. It was very good. And somebody asked her, do you think we'll have this passed by August, or when would you think it will be passed? And she said, probably that last week of August. So a lot of wheeling and dealing on both sides. And then finally, because the midterms are coming up, obviously the Republicans really want to make that happen. So maybe they do like a backroom deal or a quiet handshake deal to say, all right, we'll give you this if you give us that. You never know in Washington. I live here, and this is the way things are done. So predictions before November 1st, 50%, not much difference before December and January. Now these, of course, can move and change as news comes out. But here are some of the comments. Usually the comments have a lot of insights. 2 weeks left, so they're still arguing over who's got to sit in the meeting room. Yeah, so it's just, I'm not going to go through all of these, but that's where we are with the Clarity Act. We'll see. But the reports that it's been done and signed off on by the president doesn't really matter. Doesn't mean that it's going to get signed off by the House. So that's the deal. All right. So we're still watching and waiting. And as you know, I always say, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. This is not being baked in. The markets are not feeling this is going to happen imminently. So it's another reason why this little rally here may or may not have legs. I think we get a bit of a push because we're oversold on our indicators and on the larger time frames. But this could certainly fake out on these and come back down. We like these tend to happen. There is an argument. I was watching somebody today though that was commenting that the Wyckoff kind of looks like a Wyckoff pattern and a Wyckoff accumulation pattern. And on a broader scale, you guys have seen me cover that before. I'll pull up a diagram momentarily. But in accumulation zones, typically you'll see this kind of, longer term accumulation, and then they'll see this. You'll see a breakdown. This is known as the spring, and that's where they flush out all the last holders, the stop losses, and they get people to flip short, right? And then the move happens. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that image. And if you're not familiar with the Wyckoff patterns, we noticed it last cycle, and certainly that was almost a textbook Wyckoff pattern. And so we'll do this. Here it is. There's various versions of this, but if you overlay Bitcoin with that, here, I'll just do this version here, and we'll come back to that. That's taking a bit to load. Come on, guys, let's load this up here. So anyway, we'll come back to that, and that's the deal. So could we be in a Wyckoff pattern? Possibly, but I still think, so if we break 70K, which again on the weekly time frame, there's a lot of resistance here. This big sell block right at the midpoint of our sell blocks. And by the way, this is how we visualized the concentration of buyers and sellers from the order books. These are not liquidity zones. A lot of people talk about liquidity zones, which are useful. I've found these to be better because obviously if this is the concentration of sellers, that midpoint will usually hold. We have resistance also at the 21-week exponential moving average heading down. And so in contrast, our signals are saying short-term push. How do we read that? Okay, so we have bullish trend strength indicator when we go above 20. It's that we always look for 2 or more, and our RSI bullish divergence is so good. So I think we get a push up here and then have some trouble in this range. If we can break above and exit this, take out this sell block, then I think 80K, which is the 50-week EMA, is possible. But I think that's it, you guys. I think that would be a time to take profits. If we get an altcoin run, take profits right in here and then look to get out of the market or possibly short that for another drop down. I reserve the right to be wrong, but that's what my read is. Okay, so all right, for some reason, let me just zoom in on that. Here we go. This is pretty good. So there's 5 phases ABC theory. You can look at this up online. or comment in the comments if we put it on YouTube if you'd like to see the report, the video I did on this. But anyway, without going into all the terms, there is selling climax, secondary tests, signs of strength on the upside, and the spring is what I was just mentioning, right? So we have support, support, support. And I always say support or resistance usually breaks on the third or the fifth attempt. Just trading for 25 years, that's usually what I see. And in this case, it was a bit of a fake out, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the fifth one looking like a breakdown, but it's known as the spring, kind of the last signs of strength or supply, or the last bastion of kind of holding on of support. And then they call this the last point of supply, meaning all the sellers are exhausted, so the buyers just take off like that. So that's a really good image of the Wyckoff pattern, and so much so, let's go ahead and do this. You can actually, I don't know if you know this, you can copy images right on the charts, so that can be helpful. And so special welcome to all of our live members here in M3 Trader, by the way. And you guys, if you have any questions, of course, go ahead and put those in the chat. And otherwise, I'll keep going here. But can you see this? If I were to go out on a longer term time frame, every class, even on the live ones, I want to make sure there's a teachable moment or two. Let me turn off a couple of our signals, like our early reversal indicator. I've got some great news, by the way, on the new super indicator that Joe has been working on, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek at the early version of it. But let's take a look at the Wyckoff pattern here. So basically, you know, we had this going down. It's not going to be exact, right? But we see this from the top. You know, we have these sort of retests, and then we come down to the selling climax, and then there's a secondary test right there, and then there's kind of the secondary test phase B. Sometimes we didn't really get that. We had the FTX collapse, of course, and then we kind of pull up here in the sign of strength. So there's, if you're looking at the upper box, I'll open it up a bit, and then, you know, the spring has happened. We see that pullback, and then we do this last point of supply, and then boom. Okay, so can you see that? Whoops, it's not, you know, it's pretty close, right? It's never exact, but this pattern has been playing out for a generation in the stock market. This may or may not help make sense, but yeah, but you can see how it overlays here. If I go like this, pretty close, right? If you're looking at the last point of supply, the sign of strength, and off we go. So I encourage you to do that and put these on here to refer back to later. Okay, so where are we now? We're seeing kind of a similar pattern here on this, where we had the first drop and then the selling climax, secondary test. You know, it's building. It's not as textbook as last cycle. The point is, if we go to the daily, the spring is that kind of that's a signal. It's not many people know about this. This can be it's usually like a sweep of the lows. Again, take out the longs, liquidate the longs, get people to flip short. There's 3 or 4 trades happening there. You know, stop losses, liquidations, flipping people short, and then actually the fourth one is wiping out the shorts on the bounce. This is that spring. So anyway, I like what I'm seeing on these. If we get a crossover on the 21-day over the 50-day, again, I think we could push to 70K. That would make sense. Some push around here, some consolidation, and then a break toward 80. But again, up here at 80K, we have resistance from back over here, and we have more sellers. So I think this is a good opportunity for us as swing traders to catch some trades in this range. However, without the Clarity Act, there's pretty much zero chance that we go punching off to new highs. And as we know, with the cycles that happen every 4 years, generally it's 12 to 13 months after the high, which puts us into October. Now, everybody is saying that nowadays. You can also refer back to my study if you go to Brett Fogle Trading View there and go back to the cycle test or study that I did. I need to do another one here about this 50K range because I've been talking about it for 5 or 6 months. But let me pull this up for you guys. This is the one. And so the point is that I was one of the first saying 50K, and now everyone's saying that and putting it into October. So if we play this, this I did, when did I do this study? This was February 25th, and had these EMAs on here as support range. I'll hit play and we'll see this. So it's largely playing out to hold at this blue line, but generally we see 13 months from the high down to the low. Back in 2018, 13 months. Last cycle from the high to low, 13 months. And even if we go farther out, it was 14 months back in the 2014. So it's the cycles are shortening a little bit. Could we see 12 months and see this thing end in October or September? We could, but there's also a strong argument, if you're into cycle theory, that it would be later, that we might see this extend out into December, even into early of next year. We'll have to see. I'm sort of leaning toward we see this push up to 70 or 80 and then push back down and see a fast flush in August, September into that 50K range. I'm not going to be married to that, always aware of our confirmation bias, and we'll adapt as we go, but we'll have to see. So as of now, though, if we extend out this blue line, the 50-month SMA, it would put us, so we are holding the 50-month SMA. So there's a case to be made that the bottom is in. I still think typically we see but it's not how bottoms are generally formed. We usually see some consolidation, people come in, start buying early, and then there's a capitulation dump, and it's a fast move that gets bought up very quickly. And of course, we caught this. I was one of the first to be saying, let's get back in this market down here at the low in December of 2022 when we relaunched our M3 active trader class, and that's this class, of course. And then by January, on this big candle and our early reversal indicator fired, I was pounding the table to get back in the markets. But this is how bottoms happen. This is how bottoms happen back in the COVID crash, or back here, and then the COVID crash was there. But you can see how this 50-month SMA in blue generally is held. This was the anomaly here that we the FTX collapse. Okay, but so a capitulative move, we haven't seen that yet. So that's what we're looking at, and so we'll keep an eye on this as we go. All right, so that's where we are right now. Let's take a look at some coins. I don't see any questions, but as of now, that's what my read is. So we are long on a handful of altcoins, and I sent some of these out last night, put in the model portfolio for private clients. And so I'm going to cover some of these today. But let's take a look at the total market cap. So the problem with total market cap here is it's hitting some resistance right now, and that would have to clear. It's a nice little cup and handle pattern, though, isn't it? So I put this out the other day. The measured move on that, if we were to get a cup and handle breakout, I like simple is better, you guys. Simple patterns are generally the best. Keep things, what is it? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I learned cup and handle in 1999 in the stock market. Here's the cup. Generally, the depth of the cup is the measured move, how high it'll go. And that would make sense here because that would take it right up here to that prior resistance level around 2.44 trillion. Nice little move from here, especially if we get some broad market participation. It's only 10% on total market cap. But Bitcoin, the altcoins will do considerably better. So let's take a quick look at the weekly. So nothing really more to see there. Well, actually, I did want to show this. Ignoring everything up top, you guys know that our flagship signals are the early reversal indicator that's not shown here, but confirmed by the trend strength indicator. And so that's this one here when it goes above 20. And you don't need to know what any of this stuff means. This is a modified oscillator that Joe, my partner and mad scientist, genius, programmer, trader, quant engineer, former hedge fund guy, trades full-time, builds automated systems on the S&P. Guys, we've made discoveries that we've been fine-tuning for 5 years, and you know that they're so good now when they align. Confluence, very important. This is building toward me sharing with you the super indicator that he's building, and is going to be the basis of an alert service and eventually an auto trader. So super excited about that. But for right now, we are seeing the weekly trend strength indicator going above here. Now we look for two signals. It's not confirmed with only one. Those of you with the trade success checklist, make sure you're using the latest one, by the way. Apparently, there's an older one that's linked somewhere. We're looking for that. The latest one is at moonstream.io/Fogle. free checklist, and maybe I'll pull it up as a quick tutorial for those that are a little rusty with that. But this is what we look for. You guys know that. I've said it till I'm blue in the face. Where's the confirmation? Well, we had bullish divergence here, and this is our version of an RSI, which is head and shoulders above anything else. So we look for the divergences, right? So we are looking for a bounce on the total market cap. This confirms it. And so that's good. The other signal that confirmed this, if we look, hindsight's 2020, but bullish engulfing candle. So what I'm going to do is a quick segue to that super indicator. I'm not here to sell it to anyone. It's not available, and I don't even I do have it pulled up, but just to give you a taste, because I think you guys are going to be really excited as I was. I got on with Joe last Saturday. We spent an hour. Now, the vertical green lines, I drew, and I only drew them, and the red ones, if we had 2 or more out of our 5 top signals, and they are the ERI, which is this green dot or the green arrow, the early reversal indicator that I believe signals institutional buying and selling. As you know, the arrow is just an easy representation of the actual oscillator, which probably would make your eyeballs hurt. So our top 5, ERI, the TSI, which is the trend strength indicator here, the RSI, looking for divergences, and let me hide this one down below, and then a bullish engulfing candle, buy or sell blocks. I know that's a lot, but guys, if any 2 of those align that are green, you buy. Let's look at hindsight here. And you guys all have this if you're here, most of you in M3. So would you agree that all the green lines were good buy spots? Right here went up. Right here went up. The red one here went down. Now you might see some arrows that I didn't put a line on because there was no confirming signal. Right? That's why we're building it that way. And it can be within 3 time periods. So you don't need to know any of that, but imagine like when you're able to just, instead of going through your mind, ERI, TSI, as easy it is for me, and many of us pick it up quickly. I know some of you are still challenged by that, so we're continuing to make it easier. And just know that it's powered by quant engineering and 2 of the smartest people in the business, and you guys know that. So be excited. I'll have more information on that soon. But every green one were great times to buy and sell. Right in here, Bitcoin went up. I mean, look at just here. Let me see. Let's just take a look. Each one of these on a weekly time frame was good for like a huge move. 177% in Bitcoin from this low to this low. Here we didn't really get a sell mark, so we could have held till there. 128%. This is weekly time frames. And all the way back here, I didn't go back that far, but we certainly could do that exercise and avoided on the downside. Like, I know this is cherry picking, I get it, but if you can point out anywhere on here where it didn't work, I'll owe you a steak dinner, right? So here was avoiding a 36% drop, but actually, so it would have gone down here before it reversed, 45%, re-signaled here, would have got you out to avoid the nastiness all the way down and through here. And of course, as you know, I did predict the 16.5 low all the way back here in May. And so anyway, look, none of this is an exact science, but I think you get the point. Looking forward to that. Joe's working on it. I just did an eval video for him last night on the version that he sent me. So the good news is you don't need to know what all this stuff is, but if all you think of is green is good and red is stop or slow down or short, you're in good shoes. Where are we right now? Okay, that's the thing. We have confirmation. This was first, okay? Bullish divergence, and then we had in the 3-week time frame 1, 2, 3 right in there. It's confirming right now. So technically, we need this to stay here by Sunday. Okay, that's the thing. It has to confirm at the end of the time frame. If this were a daily chart, end of today. Weekly chart, but I think we'll get it, and that we'll see some kind of a counter trend move to the upside. All right, at the bottom, not in, don't go all in, but we're swing traders. We're going to look for those moves. All right, any questions on that, you guys? I'll have more soon. I haven't been this excited in a while, and our first attempt at the super indicator was a little too confusing, and I not easily tradable. All right, so moving right along here, we do want to get to some news, but in terms of, we try to keep things actionable and meaningful. I will do a quick scan of the in-house news here at TradingView to see just kind of big overview. And we'll get it into the derivatives. That's the hard part about these, the new markets. A lot of it's derivative powered, options, futures, big money, and Wall Street. But here I found this in Bitcoin price avoids major Iran jitters. The news, again, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. Guys, people are tired of this Iran thing. They're like, all right, yeah, all right, we get it. It's not going away, but it's priced in. So, and the S&P is kind of putting in a short squeeze. One of the interesting things that I'm hearing people talk about, and Camel Finance was talking about today, and I think that I think it makes a lot of sense, is that, I lost my train of thought, is that, where was I going with that? The Iran jitters, and wow, guys, I was thinking 3 steps ahead and I lost it. It'll come back to me. But anyway, the point is, that's all being priced in. Oh, here's what it was. The stock market has been on a tear, right? And so that's not sustainable. So I think it's my spidey sense is telling me it's probably going to be true. The stock market hits a high kind of into the end of the year and then collapses, and that money flows into crypto. Because the reason Bitcoin really didn't run that hard was the AI trade, right? SpaceX a little bit, but I have friends that made 10x on Micron Technologies and SanDisk. I have a close friend who's very close friends with Michael Saylor, and I won't name any names, but this guy's been an excellent trader. He's worth about $5 million, and he's been trading tech stocks. So a lot of the savvy old school investors gave up on crypto after last cycle, just to be honest. And of course, after October 10th back here with a $19 billion bleed out. So, but really it all started last year. We know this from stay with me, from the old Bitcoin cycles where Bitcoin would lead, Bitcoin dominance would drop, profit fat whales would sell Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, run that, sell that, buy altcoins. I think this time it's going to be different, that the big whales who made a bunch of money on tech stocks, they're going to get out, they're going to dump it. From a cycles theory point of view, the cycle top is due and will probably peak first in the stock market, and that money, that wave of money, will come back into crypto once the Clarity Act passes. That's my read on things on a larger scale. So we'll see. Okay. So that being said, let's take a look at some coins here. Guys, Monero looking pretty good here, but this is why we always wait till the end of the candle. Last night had a big bull green candle here above the 21 and 50 week EMA. That's why it's tricky to trade overnight. I like to see the end of day close, but I also kind of want to see how we open, and it sold off. Now we're still coming out of a nice little buy zone though, so I still like this trade. I did buy some long Monero last night, a little bit of leverage, and so we'll see if that holds. Probably will come down or retest that midpoint, but I think this is a retest and resumption trade on Monero. You can't get it on Coinbase though, you guys, so don't look. Unfortunately, if you are on Kraken, Binance, you can pick that up. Nice looking chart, a bit overbought on the daily, but I think this could run to 400, 384. Did add that in the model portfolio for those of you in coaching. So anyway, and guys, again, if you want me to look at any coins, let me know. The other ones on my watch list, a couple that I do like here, Lighter. Lighter is on Coinbase, and lots of buy support below. I like the chart here, and we'll look at it weekly as well. Why is this a good chart? Price discovery zone. That means when price goes above the prior all-time high, generally you'll see this pump and you'll see a retest, but the market makers, there's no resistance up above. There's no sellers who bought it here and had been underwater. So we call it price discovery zone. We usually see the biggest moves. And of course, one of my favorite patterns, you guys know this, when we see these big vector candles, also known as a fair value gap, that means that there's a fair value imbalance. There's way more buy support and buyers than sellers. The market makers let it run, but nobody else teaches this. But very often we see that pull back to the midpoint of the fair value gap, lets the market maker balance their buys and sells, and then it runs again. So this is perfect. I'll be adding Lighter. I'll be buying more here. Even though there's a bearish engulfing candle here, I like this retest, and I like the chart. So, look, I can do one-to-many advice. I can't give individual advice. Technically not financial advice, but this is a beautiful chart. And what do we have, you guys? We have ERI. Sorry, the TSI is green. We have bullish divergence and a bullish engulfing candle. Right there, we have a buy signal. Let me turn on that ERI to see how that looks. And where is it? We got an ERI. So guys, this is probably a good example for those of you that are rusty on this. And I'll pull up the free success checklist. So moonstream.io/free checklist. And what you want to do is download it for that to be interactive. Okay, for some reason in the browser doesn't work. So let's revisit that. We'll do it one more time. I'm going to redo this soon, by the way, and make it more dark background. Helen is here. I had said that to Helen, or we had sent the wrong version. So Helen, this is going to be updated. I'm adding it to my never-ending to-do list, but I've been wanting to do that for a while. So while that loads, we'll go through this. Again, the way it works is if you get an ERI, you click the box and you get a trade success score of 1. That should have downloaded by now. And yeah, again, for the interactive version, you'll need a PDF reader and you'll need the download version. So here we go. So here we have an ERI on that last chart that we looked at. On lighter, we do. Again, early reversal indicator, hence the name, is... I won't go into, and we've covered it a lot on why it works. It was an accidental discovery, as the best ones are. At any rate, we have an ERI, and we have a bullish engulfing candle. So, and we have a TSI above 20. We'll just go in order. Okay, so the TSI above 20, it's touching close enough. RSI bullish divergence. So we have this, check. So right now, we already have a trade success score of 2. Anytime you have 2 or more, you start legging into the trade. You don't go all in, you start buying. When you get to 3 and 4, you add to the trade. Professionals leg in and leg out. That's why when we sell, we usually sell half at a time, unless we're hitting a really strong sell zone. All right, so there's that. The signal line we don't use as much anymore. It's our version of a MACD, but we really don't need it. The RSI Pro bullish divergence, and the instructions are all in here, by the way. Use with the TSI for confirmation on the ERI. So we have those two. We have bullish divergence there. So now we're at a 3. The old trend indicator, we're kind of retiring. I love that one because of the key and the bell, and it's like Mario Brothers running up, grabbing the coins in the bag of money. But to just simplicity, we don't need to overcomplicate it, so I'm going to retire that one. We don't need it. And then number 4, what else did I say we have on this chart? Bullish engulfing candle. This candle engulfs the one prior to that. Very bullish sign. Underutilized. It's such a good one. It firmly shows the bulls are in control, right? Here, it looks just like this. So when you see, there's 2 versions. When the green candle body is bigger than the red one, that's bullish. It engulfs the prior one. When we see 2 in a row, even better. So that's why this is a textbook buy here on lighter. I like this trade. I think it pushes at least up to $2.80. And I have other targets in the model portfolio there with a Fibonacci study that's about as complicated as we get from the swing high here to the swing low down in there. This is that same study that perfectly called the top of the 2021 cycle from the prior high low. At any rate, so lighter could go to $4 to $5. I just think we have some. Let's take the near-term profit. We buy pullbacks and run from there. So, any questions on that? I think that was a good study and test using the trade success checklist. There are other things we could add to it, but I think those are the 4. To tie it all together, there are more, but the only ones that are part of that super indicator. The only other one that we include is the buy block, right? So that would be the buy limit orders. And but there's other ones like the dynamic true range, also good on the 4-hour side. If you remember the radar, we haven't been looking at the radar a lot because we've been in a strong downtrend. We're mostly getting mixed signals. But later, when we get a little farther higher, all green on the radar, green is go, time to get in. we developed the radar in the 2021 top because we had people, we were still bullish, and we were doing a monthly newsletter, if you remember, and there wasn't time to get the bearish signal out, although M3 clients, I called the top in November 2021, you know that. But anyway, point is, the radar, when it's all red, get out of the market. When it's all green, get in. Mixed signals, we're in a swing traders market. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Do you guys want me to go over any more of this? I really want to redo this to make it cleaner in a dark background. But of course, we also use parallel trend channels. That's a big part of what we do. And each one of these counts toward a bullish signal. And of course, the Bollinger Bands if it's hitting the lower side. And just quick review of when do we sell. Our sell signals, pretty clear. People ask me all the time, when do you sell? Upper Bollinger Band, that is our modified, we reinvented the Bollinger Band. The ones off the shelf, they don't work for crypto. Ours, we changed something in the standard deviations so they work perfectly for crypto. And you can even see it here. Invariably, when price touches the upper Bollinger Band there, see that red thing? Let me go a little higher so you can see this. Pushed here, sold off. Pushed here, touched again, sold off. Pushed up to here, almost got there, sold off, but it's been riding the upper Bollinger Band, and then we saw some consolidation. Point is, it's ready to run again. The upper Bollinger Band's right there around $2.80. I already told you that's our target. So that's how we simplify trading, and how you guys can too. Again, to get that checklist, it's moonstream.io/free checklist, and so you can go ahead and play around with that. Well, the point is to teach people how to use our signals, and then after that you sort of do it all mentally. And of course, if you want to learn more about our signals, that's cryptomastery.org, and you can learn more about these here. It's the backbone of everything that we do. The best signals I've ever used, mostly because we built them. Cool. All right, with that in mind, let's take a look at another trade that I think is setting up nicely here. We talked about later, Toncoin. Now they've renamed the business. This is for Telegram, and they call it Gram now is the name of the company, but the coin is still TON. Kind of like this, we have the bullish engulfing candle, we have a bullish ERI. So we have bullish trend strength indicator. Guys, that's 3, and that's enough. So I had bought some last night, put that out to some of you guys in the chat. Basic attention token, similarly, we have ERI, TSI, RSI. That's enough, you guys. And once you have confidence in these, then you'll be able to just take the emotion out of trading to a large degree. And again, I put the price targets in the private clients group up here. I would say we push up here, take profits at 85 cents, around 91 cents into the sell blocks, even as high as 94 cents. Luvium, the other one, similar. See that I go through dozens and dozens of charts every day and only share the best ones with you that are based on our signals. You can see ERI, TSI, if they don't have 2 of our signals green, it's not on the list. Couple setting up, we've got optimism, bullish ERI, bullish engulfing, bullish T. This now is actually should be a buy. And so the only thing is low volume. Really low volume down here. But our insurance policy is look at all the buyers, respecting support at 91 cents, respecting the buy block, And since breakouts and breakdowns happen on the 3rd or 5th attempt, like 90% of the time, the 3rd bounce means this is stronger. There's 2 ways to look at this. I understand. Some people say no, every time it comes down, it's weakening that support zone. It depends. I doubled my Solana and my IRA in 2024 just buying in this. Solana had a really nice buy zone around $120 to $125, and it held. It held for a while. It kept buying, selling. So these are a gift. We're in a consolidation range, so I think this on optimism could push up here to around 11 cents and maybe higher. Right, we're looking for base hits right now, you guys. But look, we had 4 of our signals on the trade success worksheet. Right, bullish engulfing candle, 1, buy zone, 2, bullish ERI. Actually, we have all 5. on optimism. So this is a screaming buy for a short-term swing, you guys. And this is how you decipher the noise. All right. So do you see that? Okay, you see a question here. Let me see. Helen has a question. You should be able to type it in the chat, Helen, I believe. But do you see where the chat is? So I'll just put a message there for everybody, and I'll keep going, but I'll look for your question. Yeah, so we have, again, what are they? Real easy. ERI, it's a mantra. ERITSI, RSI. What do they stand for? The early reversal indicator, the green arrow. The TSI, the trend strength indicator, above green, it has to turn green and above 20. See how it failed back here? That's why we use that as it has to be close above 20. So the TSI has to be green, and then the RSI, bullish divergence, that green circle. So you don't have to know what any of these things mean. Now here's another nuance for you guys that have been around for a while. The secondary bullish signal of the RSI, the relative strength index, has two factors that can be bullish or bearish. And so the first is bullish divergence. This means the RSI went up when the price maybe went sideways or down. That's a hidden bullish divergence. The secondary bullish signal, which we've also color-coded, do you see this vertical green line here? This is different than the bullish divergence. This means that the green line of the RSI crosses the yellow line. That's bullish. We won't go into what they are. You don't need to know that now. So we have double bullish signals on the RSI. So even though, let me just do this, even though these others, the chart action is sort of nondescript. These are our secret weapons for a reason. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You guys have heard me say, everyone thought it was magic until they looked behind the curtain and saw there was just some guy with pulleys and gears, right? That's what we have. So when we turn all this, with the chart patterns alone, it looks choppy and sideways bound. We turn on our Wizard of Oz signals and we know there's confluence. There's buyers here, there's institutional buyers, bullish engulfing candle, that's 3. We have our TSI and RSI, that's 5. When we have 5, it's so rare that we're wrong, at least for a push up from here. So keep an eye on optimism. I'm going to add that to a buy recommendation. All right, Helen asks, let me move this over here. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but how do you set up the entry price upon seeing confluence of these signals? Okay, we'll get to that. Do you market order, limit order a bit lower? Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good question. Or do you go to a lower time frame to get, yeah, great. 3 great questions, you guys. So let's do them in order. How do you set the entry price when you see them? And so I usually will do a market order for half of what I normally would go in a position with, because I want to get in the trade. Sometimes these will run and get away from you, and once just get in the trade, have some skin in the game. 2 reasons. One is you're going to be paying more attention to it, and what I do on my watch list is I turn these green when I'm already in them. These are blue because these were recommendations in the private client group. And but to be honest, so I did buy lighter last night. I'm going to probably add to some of these. I bought these, and I have some alluvium. Okay, so I bought these 4 last night, and some Monero in my MEXC account. But I will buy some optimism. So let's go to optimism. What would I do and what I might do after class today? If I would normally say put $5,000 in a position, I might buy 2,500 at market and then do a limit order for a pullback. Or if it starts breaking out though, and it looks like it'll close at the top toward the top of the candle at the end of the day, here's a nuance. You see how it's had trouble closing above that 21-day EMA, right? That's that thin ice. It works both sides, trying to get back above it again. If this starts if we close above that, above 10 cents later tonight, then I would add to that closing mean the end of the daily candle. So that's one way. Get in the trade, keep some. I like to bind a momentum unless there's a clear level below, but my experience has been I'd rather pay more with more conviction and more chances to be right. The exception would be is if it's already gone up 3 or 4 or 5 days. We want to catch these early. That's why the bullish engulfing candle and ERI are so good. I would imagine at the end of the day, optimism does break higher because we have this confluence of signals. So that's your first question and second question. So market order to get in, maybe that's 20%. This is where just your conviction comes in and your risk tolerance. But if you're keeping a tight stop loss, you can go in half and then keep half for the next day or to wait for more signals to line up. Does that make sense? Because here, what these signals also do, a lot of people have questions, where do I put my stop loss? Well, I would do the same thing on a stop loss, and I'll come back to your other question about lower time frame. So here on optimism, our stop loss would be, I would put it here at the midpoint. It's an art and a science. I would do staggered stop losses because if you're, on this, the likelihood of it going below 0.91 is pretty low. Why is that? The midpoint of the buy block down here, that's the bounce point. So I would say my stop loss would be, say, 0.90 or just below that. Or if you wanted to give it a little bit more room, you could even do half here. I like the midpoint of the buy block, and then the rest of it just below the buy block, because it's rare, even on a wick, that it will take out and go below the buy block. And if it does, these do get taken out like 15% of the time, but they generally hold. But if this gets taken out, you want to be out anyway. So give some of it a tighter stop loss. Here's what, in a perfect world, I would do part of the stop loss below this wick here, part of it below the midpoint of the buy block, part of it below the bottom. But, generally, it's kind of art and science. So below the last wick, into the buy block. So that's the question there. As far as the third party question, or do you go to a lower time frame to get more precise on the entry? Yeah, sometimes. And so what we'll sometimes do is on the 4 hour, and what sometimes I'll do, for most of you, you don't want to get in this much in the weeds. I'll use a 1 hour and a 4 hour for entries sometimes. Let me do that, open in a new window. So bring up that, okay, so letting this load. So this is the 1 hour and the 4 hour. Why did that, hang on you guys, somehow I opened the wrong chart, bear with me. Hang on, I got here, I thought I opened that in a new window. So you can use the sell order blocks and buy order blocks on the 1 hour and 4 hour time frame and the TSI. So some of you, I know, don't want this much granularity. Some do. Well, I'll cover it. All right. So on Monero, anyway, I think let's stay with lighter, and lighter on Coinbase here. And the caveat on these is the volume's a little low, so we have to be a little careful. Oh, cool. We had a rocket on the 4 hour. Nice. So what we see here so the 1 hour, if you have time, and Helen, I know you have time to sit in front of these, and you have an extra monitor. On the 1 hour chart, so I liken it to, if the weekly chart is like a cruise ship, and it's hard to turn, it can't just turn around. And then the daily is like a sailboat. It can make sweeping turns, but pretty much when it turns, it's going to go that way for a while. And then the 4 hour is more like a speedboat, and then the 1 hour is like a jet ski. You can move this analogy left or right if you're doing day trading. Point is, for timing, on the 1 hour, this will fluctuate. And I'll open that up just on the 1 hour chart. You can time your entries better. I wouldn't go below a 1 hour because it's just noise. But let's say that we are long, or wanted to get long on lighter, and we saw this come down from here on the trend strength indicator going down below. We will often set alerts. So let's say I want to know the next time it's an optimal entry on the 1 hour, because look, there's always the red team and the green team, the tug of war. The red team's pulling, sometimes they're stronger, and the green team is tired, so the red team wins for a while, and then they get tired, and then the green team pulls for a while, and each needs their turn, or there's no game. Does that make sense? We've talked about that in the past. So, otherwise markets, they wouldn't exist, or they would just go straight up and straight down and nobody would want to do it. Point is, right now the green team is in control. It's getting tired. It's up in this overbought zone. So if we wanted to short this, we wouldn't want to do that necessarily. I do my bias in my trade direction on the daily, weekly. I use the 4 hour, sometimes 1 hour for optimizing the entry, which is the price. Helen asked, or do you go to a lower time frame to get more precise on the entry price? So we wouldn't want to short this if we want to go long, but ideally we don't want to buy it now and then wait for it to sort of turn down a little bit. We want to buy it when it goes green again. So we right click, we go add to alert or add alert. All of our signals you can add alerts, and instead of oversold, we want to go turn green, and we can also add a condition and say also we want to know when it's green and turning up above 20. Okay, and then in my message I'll say, I'll just optimize that because I added 2 parameters, not just green, green and lighter up against crossing 220. So basically we'll get an alert, and I might do this instead of once only, I might say every time, once per bar close, so that way I can set it and forget it. Okay, if I think lighter will go up for a couple days or a week, and I want to add every time the TSI is, the red team's tired and the green team's about to pull higher, that's how you do it. And then we can see when these oscillated, that's when the moves happen. So you can absolutely use these for better timing. Probably lighter will pull back in a little bit. For those of us that are, longer term swing traders, that's why last night I got in the trade. We didn't know if it would shoot up today. It's pulling back, so I might add to it a little bit here. We've got bearish divergence on the 1 hour, so likely this pulls down a little bit. Generally, I like the 4 hour though, but we also have some, we have some sellers up here on the 4 hour, and that we can see in that red box. So, in this case, I would still add down in here. By the way, this is one of our favorite signals, the rocket on the launch pad. And if there wasn't a sell block here, this would have shot up higher, and it still may. But this is also an example of how signals can counteract each other. Let me just talk about that for a minute, because when we see that with the trade success checklist, this is important, because let's say we have these bullish factors and we have a trade success score of 4 or 5, but there's a sell block. So let's just, here, I'll jump to that. We even had a rocket on the launch pad, so we see this. So we go there. Now we have a trade success score of 5, but there's a sell block there also. That's how we've engineered this. If you check this box, watch what happens to the trade success score. It goes down 1. We're still in favor of the trade, but it's not as strong, and there may be some other bearish signs on the 4 hour. Not so much. A bit overbought up here. Look, it's an art and a science, but so I think what happens here with lighter is it chops around with these sellers. There's some profit takers here. You could optimize that with a 4 hour or the 1 hour entry, because this is a little bit pro level, because we want to catch the next swing bottom to take out that sell block. And that will happen when on the 1 hour chart we're coming down, probably maybe even later today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This was like 12 hours. So later tonight, maybe that triggers and it goes higher. And that would be the optimal time to add to the position. I still recommend getting in a little bit, have some skin in the game, because on the larger time frame, this is still bullish-ish. The sell block, don't really love that. Wait, we're still on the 4 hour somehow. Yeah, always make sure you know what time frame you're in, you guys. I hope it's not too confusing. It will make sense the more you look at it. In the daily chart, though, the longer time frame wins. The weekly, the cruise ship, it's leaving San Juan and it's going to Brazil. And you can't be like, hey, can you just turn around, just swing on over to St. Martin here and get us? No, 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 no. It's going there. You know, it might wave a little bit, but it's going that way. The weekly chart and the monthly chart tell you where things are headed, and the daily is kind of our optimal. Bullish engulfing. All of these are still aligned on lighter. Don't be fooled by the lower time frames. It's just going to take a little while to take out that 4-hour sell block, but then I still think it goes to 280. You got it, everyone? I know everyone here we've gone over this 100 times. So everyone else, who's with me? You guys, you should by now know all of this. Adrian and Dr. T, who else? Francisco's here, Stanford. You guys all have this. You should know this. But repetition is the mother of all learning, so we do it over and over again. You should be able to do it blindfolded. Okay, great, Helen. Glad you're here. Okay, so we talked about some of these other ones that, you know, Ton coin, it's not as good, right? So I evaluate these in relation to each other. And I did still buy some. Ton is Telegram's coin, and the new name of the company or the coin is Graph, I believe, or not Graph. There was a Graph last cycle. Anyway, it doesn't matter. TON. We had bullish engulfing candle, we had an ERI, we had a TSI. That's enough. We didn't get our RSI bullish divergence, but we have the vertical green lines. So it's moving. And again, you guys, here's a pop quiz. The light green box here, what is that? I'm going to start calling on you guys as like teacher in class. It's okay, good guess, Helen. This is money flow. Adrian, nice, good job. Money flow. So this is another bullish signal that this is on the move. Money flow coming in is important, and for two reasons. One is these blocks tend to get respected. The buyers in that range, the fund, usually these are bigger, you know, whales or you know, bigger players. They'll and if you remember from the Wall Street days, they would put out a memo to everyone, say we like XYZ, we like Blue Horseshoe likes Ellicott Steel, if you remember that movie. But they will buy it if they like it at $1.50. Anytime it comes back there, that's a standing order to accumulate at $1.50 on Wall Street. It's not like the next day they're like, yeah, actually, let's sell it. No. They don't. They build positions. All right. Okay, Helen, we'll talk later, I think. But so the other thing is we also see this pull down to the midpoint of the vector candle. So amateur traders, retail traders might say, they'll buy it on the pump, and then they'll sell at a loss. This is where we add to TON. Because I bet you if we go to a 1 hour, 4 hour, this is looking better. Yeah, so on the 4 hour, it's starting to curve up again. And that's how you read these things. The 1 hour TSI is oversold and starting to turn green again. Kind of the opposite. So it helps to have these signals tremendously and the nuances. And, you know, the only negative here is it rejected at the 21-day EMA, exponential moving average, but it's rebuilding. You know, this will churn out and push higher at some point. Similarly, basic attention token. Look, the thing is, what's nice about the signals here is, you know, we don't really care what does basic attention token do. I don't care. Toncoin. I like that because it's Telegram and they built in their own payments system. So utility is important if they can generate profit. Apparently, profit and customers are good for businesses. It's a little bit joke. You'll get that on the way home. But in that case, I care. Like Ondo Finance, Solana, rewriting Wall Street, other ones like Ondo tokenizing. Those are things I have in the back of my mind. But show me the chart. And that's what's important. So bullish engulfing candle, ERI, TSI, RSI, I'm in. It could be sheep or goats, right? So it doesn't matter that much if we have our alignment. And so anyway, Alluvium having a little bit of a breather here. And ERI, bullish engulfing, TSI, we're in. We have 2 or 3 we're in, especially on the weekly time frame. And that's kind of it's a little bit new when I got with Joe and we went through that chart that I showed before, and on a weekly time frame, whenever there were two or more of our signals within 3 time periods, within 3 weeks, invariably it would move in that direction. And we can always make money on a weekly move as swing traders. I had to slow down to make sure that was clear, because I think it's so clutch and core to what we do here. So similarly, optimism, ERI, bullish engulfing. So I know a broken record, but you want to hear me say it's been a while since we've had all of these in alignment. And another thing I recommend you do is, when in doubt, zoom out. Go back and just, each coin has its own personality. If you're not sure here, say, well, what happened the last time that this setup happened? Well, let's go back here. Bullish engulfing candle, touched on a buy zone, ERI, and then the TSI went green. Well, did it go up? Yeah, and it's a nice 16% move. Base hits, you guys. We're still in a bear market. Things are a little different in the bull market, but right now, we have to survive. I like Aerodrome. It's holding a nice uptrending channel. We have bullish ERI. We're in a buy zone. It's almost enough. I think I'll wait a little bit. But if we get TSI or the other one, that's why it's on the watch list. Same with H-bar. H-bar getting a bit of a surge here, and we have, so not quite there yet. Sometimes we'll go to the weekly to see if that will be, yeah. So here's another nuance. If on the daily you're like, this looks pretty good, but I didn't really get my signals. I only have one signal. We kind of had the bullish divergence here. We kind of had the TSI. It's kind of holding the uptrending channel, but I don't know. So look, when in doubt, stay out. But also, when in doubt, zoom out, right? So we zoom out to the weekly. Here on the weekly chart, we can see that we do have a sign of direction. The cruise ship is heading somewhere, and we can see that because on the weekly time frame, we have bullish engulfing candle, we have bullish divergence. We should wait for the end of the week for confirmation, and you can see I have a note to self here. I recommend you do that because this will stand out on the daily. Watch weekly RSI, and oops, I didn't mean to erase it. What RSID is, I just made up divergence. And sure enough, we have bullish divergence and the crossover here. So we're a little early, but I think H-bar is worth starting to buy now. And the other reason is, which isn't exactly clear, but the opposite of our upper Bollinger Band sell, the lower Bollinger Band, often it will bounce from. But I think right now we have bullish divergence, we have relative strength. I think this is, with a tight stop loss. You could cap a really tight stop loss here, because if it loses this, you're losing the channel, then it invalidates these symbols. So that's the reason I would say H-bar is a buy, tight stop on that, and catch a swing move up to here. Beats a sharp stick in the eye. At least you catch a profit on that, and that's the point. Okay, so I think we've kind of exhausted the coins I want to cover. Certainly Allo has been on our radar. The measured move on Allo. Let me go to the daily. It was looking, I knew there was a problem. Allo looks great on the weekly chart. Right? Nice cup and handle breakout, price discovery, 4 green candles in a row, and it looks like it's off to the races. But it's a little overbought on the weekly time frame, and then here on the daily, though, that's the problem. Definitely overbought, big sell block all through here. So with Allo here, I would, this is where I'd rather pay more for fresh conviction. If we get up here to 54 cents, I already have alerts. 54 cents, 58 cents, that means these sell blocks are gone. I'll chase it, but I won't buy it here. So, all right, you guys, we can kind of pick things up. Dashcoin's been in a buy zone for a while. I don't know. I mean, at some point, this will probably break out. We have, it's called gas in the tank. If I turn off that Bollinger Band, clean things up, the longer something goes sideways, and holds a range, the bigger and longer the breakout will last. And that's an old stock trading tip. We call it gas in the tank. The longer, if a stock or coin comes all the way down, it's down 90%, sideways, sideways, sideways. The sellers are becoming exhausted. There's no more sellers at some point, and then only buyers. I think Dashcoin is setting up for a massive breakout, but I don't want to jump ahead of the train or put capital. That's actually the wrong analogy. There's no train coming. It's just it's just going sideways, and there's a little bit more of a seller faction here. I mean, you might want to start dabbling on the lower trend line there, but I'd really like to buy into strength, catch that momentum. So I have an alert here at $36. Why? That would mean the seller block is gone. Okay, we can take a look at that, Adrian. Sure. Let's jump over to night. Let's see, did I miss any? Some more on my watch list. IMX, but they're just so beaten down. And the thing is, here's the reason we have to be really careful with these. The volume is just nothing, right? Immutable X was number one of the top gaming coins in the last cycle, dead. But I also have been saying gaming is dead. It's not there yet. Cannot compete with all the big for-profit centralized companies. Decentralized gaming, it's not there yet. Maybe one day. It's not going to be this cycle. So Illuvium, I like a little bit the chart, but be aware of the dead sectors like gaming. And so anyway, Injective, great project, just not quite there yet. And probably should put an alert above. Doesn't excite me. Polkadot kind of seems like it's bottoming, but I don't like the sellers above. These, we have the luxury to say, hey, we can be picking the better ones. We have ERI, we have TSI, we have RSI divergence. But what else do we have? We have sellers here. We'll keep it on the radar. Ondo Finance, seeing a nice little surge, but again, sell blocks. I don't like it. This is tricky. We have we have a bunch of sellers up here. We have money flow coming in. It's getting bought up. We have inconclusive signals. When in doubt, stay out. It's not there yet. 44 cents probably going to reject. If it gets to 48 cents, I'm okay with that. I have it all. I have alerts on that already. We'll let you know. Same thing with Pendle. These are slowly building, but they have sell pressure up above. Lido Finance had a nice little run. Lido still does look good here, you guys. I'm going to move that up. I did recommend Lido last week. Yeah. So the TSI bullish divergence, maybe there's an issue on the daily, because otherwise there's a reason. Yeah, look, there's sellers. That's the thing. We want those in confluence. It's the upside kind of limited here. In hindsight, it's okay to look back and kick ourselves because that's how we learn. Where would we have wanted to buy Lido, ideally? Down here, ERI, TSI, RSI, bullish divergence. Why didn't we? I don't know. We messed up. I messed up. I was being overly cautious. So that's why I'm starting to really lean into the signals. Okay, we talked about H-bar. We talked about, did we talk about H-bar? I think we did. Yeah, H-bar looks pretty good. We did already. Let's look at night. I have it on one of these. And maybe go back to Solana here in a minute. And then let's get to some news. So, night, I met those guys at Consensus. I need to reach out to them. Two young guys. And they offered to rebuild my SaaS for me on click sales. We'll talk about that another day. All right, so night, it's not on Coinbase, I don't believe. But it, well, first of all, Adrian, I don't know. I don't think I gave a buy on this at all because of this downtrending channel. If you have some, it is part of my privacy coin profits list, and I think it does have legs. We did talk about the utility of it, and what's cool about Night is it's a privacy coin that lets you control what you want to hide. Whereas Monero and Zcash, it's just completely private. Nobody can know anything. But let's say these guys are forward thinkers. So let's say you have a bunch of Night token and you want to use it as collateral for a mortgage on your house. they allow you to set the permissions. So allow the bank to see this. I guess kind of like when if you've ever tried to tie your bank account into something like a firm or Klarna, and you go in through Plaid that says what's your bank, and it says, all right, you give permission for company A to see your bank balance. It's kind of like that. So with Knight, you could say, well, yes, I'll share this information with the bank to get my mortgage. No, I won't share it with anyone else, like Uncle Sam or or my ex-wife or something like that. Anyway. Is it done? Yeah. So here's the thing. I wouldn't sell it here because it's still in a channel, Adrian, and it's oversold on the TSI. It swept the bottom of this trend channel, but I think at this point we could redraw a little, which is fair. Yeah. So it's at the bottom of its trend channel, and more than likely, what I would say is the sellers are exhausted. If you're still holding some, the key would be to dollar cost average and buy more. Not now, but I'd say when you start to see green signals again on the ERI, TSI, or RSI. And for that, I would watch. Hold on a second, guys. My microphone clip just completely gave up on me and fell. So I'm going to have to hold this like a disc jockey. That has never happened before, but I guess gravity always wins. People say nobody ever wins all the time. Gravity wins all the time. Just there you go. Let's get some clues here. The 4-hour, the weekly. I mean, you know, in fairness, if you were holding it, I don't know, are you holding it? You know, just to some accountability, you should have had a stop loss right below this support line. You have to be using stop losses in these markets. It's not a nice to have. You have to be. 3 commas is great for that, and just it takes 2 seconds when you place a trade to go in and put your take profit and stop loss. I would say on here I would put alerts on the TSI for when it starts to turn green and go above 20 on the 1-hour and the 4-hour. The problem is I wouldn't put a lot of capital. Look at there's no volume here. Something happened. Somebody dumped a lot of this. I don't know. You know, this is where if you were a private client, we could really unpack this. I don't know. I can't say it'll recover soon because there's no volume in this. It doesn't even have any news. Somebody dumped a lot of it. It may not I don't think it will recover soon. See, the problem with Knight is even if it bounces, what happened is a bunch of people bought it here on a breakout thinking it was going to break out, and it turned into a sell block, and you can see that sell pressure knocked it down. But the people that bought it here, all they want to do is sell it to break even. So this whole range is not going to go away easily. 5 million airdrop. Yeah, I bet you that's what it was. So I don't think that's coming back anytime soon. How are we doing time, you guys? We're at 1:15. Let's jump over to some news. Can't go too long on this. The recording becomes a bit ornery. Looking at AI coins real quick, see if anything's moving. We've got Allo at the top of the list there. Unibase we've talked about. Actually, Unibase does look good here, and I would keep an eye on that. Unibase, we talked about that last week. And it's breaking out of its parallel trend channel. Let's look at the weekly time frame. Looks a little overbought on the daily. I like this chart. I don't think it's on Coinbase, but if you have MEXC, it looks like it's there. I'll see if it's in USDC, but MEXC, it's on there. Probably not on Coinbase. You know, these things, these obscure ones, they generally are not. USDC, not there. Okay. But anyway, cool. Put that on your radar. That would be a good one. And I might put that as a buy recommendation. I'll keep an eye on it. That's high on my list of things to watch. I'm disabled here at the moment, trying to hold this microphone and take a screenshot. Okay, moving right along. A couple of those. ENA, we have... these are obscure ones too that are not going to be on your typical exchanges, just ones we're watching. ENA is Ethereum Name Service. If we get an altcoin rally, which is possible, we'll be watching these. Let me take a look at privacy coins as well. By the way, if any of you requested our privacy coin profits report, it's a little outdated now. I'm going to redo it, but you'll want to be on the list. We'll probably put portions of this on YouTube. So if you want our privacy coin profits list, I do a full report on my top 10 and my top 20. You just comment privacy in the comments down below if you're on YouTube. We will upload segments of this class. All right, Tornado Cash, Rail. None of these I would go near with a 10-foot pole at the moment. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to hop out of here and go over to some news. I will just do, if you like this class, by the way, if you're watching portions of this on the replay, go to moonstream.io/M3, and you can join this class every week, live Wednesday at Eastern, noon Eastern, that is. Replays are put up same day. A lot of clients overseas in England and Australia watch the replays. You can watch those at 1.5, 2x speed, get through it faster. You can read a little bit more about me here if you haven't, if you're not familiar. We do have, for members, you do get access to me and coin picks in a Signal chat here every day. I'll do an update and updates on the overall market, video updates, and live calls or coin picks. You can see some commentary and just feedback there. There's a members area with some other cool things, and the replays are there. Cheat sheets, dollar cost averaging worksheets, also templates and high probability trade setups, high probability candlestick resources. Those of you here today live, you guys make use of the high probability chart patterns and candlestick patterns, and I've been sharing these with you. You should know what these are. Falling wedge is head and shoulders, cup and handles. You know, we had a designer make those for you. All right, Adrian, no problem. Dr. T, you should have just reach out to Myrene. We'll send you the privacy report. Yeah, no problem. And let's see. So that's that. Moonstream.io/M3. We'll put the links in the comments below the YouTube video. Okay, that out of the way, I had some news queued up for you guys. Let's see. Where did that go? Maybe this. Here we go. Here's the news. All right, we'll do a little bit of news. Bitcoin analysis. Serious volume after Binance seeks. I saw this earlier. 9K Bitcoin outflow. Bitcoin usually leaves the exchange to go where? To go into cold storage rather, and cold storage wallets, so less likely to sell. That's a good sign. When we see a lot of Bitcoin coming off of cold storage onto the exchange, usually that's a sign of upcoming selling pressure. Binance set multi-month records for Bitcoin outflows. That's good on Tuesday, adding to an emerging trend, positive inflows to the U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs. All right, yeah, and the ETFs have been positive. We can pull up Farside and see, but we had a record inflows yesterday. That's good. All right, let's see. Going through this pretty quickly, I'll skim this. Talked about that. Seller absorption is improving. That means that the sellers, the seller absorption is meaning the buyers are buying up the sellers, what they're selling, absorbing the selling pressure. So, you know, there is a camp. Mike Saylor, again, can't come out, said recently today that he thinks 60K is the bottom. We'll see. You know, I think for the most part it is, but, you know, the FTX, I think 20K or around there would have been the bottom if it weren't for the FTX collapse. And, you know, that part of that was engineered. Binance had something to do with that, CZ, and, you know, not happy with, he allegedly found out that Sam, the bank fraud guy, he was colluding with the U.S. to become the only exchange and trying to squeeze out Binance. That's what I heard. Yeah, so Binance was like, all right, well, look, we know you're commingling funds between Alameda and here, and we're gonna dump a ton of our Solana. And there was another one that we also liked that was I can't remember it. That was a great coin until they destroyed it. At any rate, they helped get rid of them. But you could say nobody saw that coming. black swan event. But either way, 60K might be the normal bottom, but what's around the corner? I just read today also that another Bitcoin treasury firm has decided to unwind, and that would be a smaller Michael Saylor, a UK-based one, and they were down 90% because of the October 10th debacle. And I've been saying for a while now, you guys, that the other shoe, there's probably some wounded hedge funds or Bitcoin treasuries that are barely holding on. If FTX was barely holding on, and it was that final leg down that just perpetuated the capitulation, where they went out, and so one of these just sold. It was a smaller one, but there's might be a couple more in the wings. That's why 50K I think is, something may happen. I'm still going to hold on to that. If I'm wrong, we will readjust. But that's where the buyers are. The smart money. Okay. All right. New research. On-chain analysis. CryptoQuant. I'm not a huge follower of on-chain. It's not timely or meaningful in real time. But let's see. But, these kind of things do help. Confirms that Bitcoin withdrawals from the world's biggest exchanges are outpacing inflows. Meaning more people are putting their coins into cold storage than on exchanges to potentially sell. Usually reflects short-term supply pressure. Binance easing to some extent. Bitcoin is not being sent to the exchange aggressively for potential selling, as I said. Okay. But it's been toggling it back and forth. Again, it's interesting. It's not meaningful or actionable. Bitcoin 107K buyers providing early signals of 2026. There's a lot of speculation out there, especially on Twitter. Be careful of following news without. One tip for you: if you see anything that sounds scary or super sensationalized, you just copy paste it into Grok or Perplexity AI and just say, "What's your take on this?" And it'll usually tell you, give you the good slant on it. Here's Farside Investors showing that inflows on Bitcoin to the IBIT here have been strong. I've been having alerts the last few days. We haven't looked at it in a while, but you remember the study I did on the IBIT 4-hour chart and the gaps that we're filling? That's been going off and proceeding. I was too busy to look at it. Maybe I should have, because they preceded this move up in Bitcoin. But we're seeing inflows on Bitcoin on the ETFs. That's good. All right, so what else? We see consensus got a full bull market rebound, hamstrung by a lack of spot demand. That's true. The other thing I saw, and this is important, retail liquidity and volume is at record lows. Retail they're out. They're out for the summer. They're all like, hey, we're going to wait till October. I can't really see a massive run up unless somehow they middle of the night pass a Clarity Act, which is possible. So being a little bit long makes sense right now. Only derivatives are seeing turnaround compared to recent months, as part evidenced by inflows. Okay, that's all I want to talk about there. So let's get through two more quick ones, and then I'll let you guys go. Ether breaks. I don't really want to talk about Ether. Maybe we can look at it. I think Ether goes to 1,000, but I could be wrong on that. I know that people are saying that it's still the biggest. It's great for layer 2s, but it just doesn't look good. And maybe if Ether can run once Bitcoin runs again, and then we see that sort of rotation over. I don't even know where Ether is in my list. It's so far down my list. So we'll just type it in. And if I can spell today, ETH right there. And so there's nothing bullish here. All right, maybe a little. But no, it's not, though. The trend strength indicator is green. But we're in a sell block on a weekly time frame and overhead resistance. Ether goes lower. I think Ether goes to 1,400. I don't see it going higher. I don't see it. Maybe at 2,100, but that's the 21-week EMA. So Ether's a no-go. Now keep in mind, you guys, all the news, a lot of the news, 85% of media is placed, paid for, or a press release submits a press release. Cointelegraph, they just want content to sell advertising. and they don't really get, they put out, whether intentionally or not intentionally, the information is not like top notch. Show me the charts. Ether tested, blah blah blah, triggering liquidations. Yeah, maybe that's just a short squeeze, and eventually Ether probably will go up, but I'm not a fan right now. Let's see. Let's skip it. It's not actionable or meaningful. I think we're pretty much all out of ETH right now. Bitcoin 7-week highs as stocks ignore Iran strikes. Trump 10%. Yeah, I do want to talk about that. The Trump is talking about tariffs again, and maybe markets don't care. But remember the tariff tantrum the first time, and so I think we see some push higher that maybe the tariffs are the news that pushes the markets back down again. A lot of headwinds still potentially ahead of us. Bitcoin price action approached 67K despite new geopolitical and macroeconomic pressures, being Iran and tariffs, etc. Neither U.S. war. Yeah, they were, partially the markets have priced all this in though, and they don't care anymore because what is Iran really going to do at this point? They don't have anything left. We pretty much bombed them into oblivion, and bridges. They heard it sent 100 missiles at the USS Abraham Lincoln. 100, not a single one hit. So we're pretty much safe. So data from I don't mean to laugh at the situation. I just how stupid are they to keep sending missiles at us? They being the IRGC, not the Iranian people, to be clear. Hopefully the Iranian people will be free of that soon. Upward momentum begin the day. Slow stopping. I don't even want to talk about the war now. Trade tariffs. Let's talk about when that might be, because I want to put it in time context. These would follow 50% measured imposed on Canada. Really, we put 50% on Canada. Wonder what they did to piss us off again. I don't know. We should just make Canada the 52nd state. Sorry. Guys, I think we're done here. There's not much more to talk about. Here's a chart. I don't really follow other people's charts. Only a handful. Oh, Jamie Dimon back in the news. Let's see what he has. He's like the new Jim Cramer. Jamie Dimon says he's selling all of his crypto. What? Markets are underestimating geopolitical risk and fiscal risks, and he wouldn't buy stocks or long-dated treasuries at current prices. AKA, he's buying stocks and long-dated treasuries and wants them to go lower. All right, guys, I think we're done here. Is there anything else you guys want to look at before we go? We're at 90 minutes. I think the only other thing I would pull up here on the charts, this thing, we're just waiting for global liquidity to return. And, we're starting to see the ISM kind of inch higher, but the prior bull markets, rather, I maintain we never had our bull market. The ISM PMI has been hitting this top trend line, the 2014 top, 2017, the 2021, and we didn't even get above 50 until recently, and so that has to improve before we really see the blow off top. Similarly, U.S. net liquidity and M2 over U.S. debt has been languishing. The money printer, if it goes burr, we need this to go up. Also didn't get above 75, so we don't have the conditions. We haven't had the conditions for a raging bull market. So when we do, we'll see things take off. So, all right, everybody, that's all I have for you this week. And thanks. If you are watching on the YouTubes and like this, hit that like button thingy and the bell so you get to hear when we be alerted when we do more of these. We'll do these on occasion. If you want to be on this weekly live, go to moonstream.io/M3, and you can learn how to get involved with this. It's $197 a month, biggest bargain on the interwebs. If you are interested in personal coaching, you can go to moonstreamcoaching.com just moonstreamcoaching.com. That'll take you here to watch a video. And there you go. Signals, cryptomastery.org. We've got everything, and that's everything that we do is based on that. So that's it, everybody. We will talk to you guys soon. And somewhere on this page toward the end, we'll link another video that might be of interest for you if you're on the YouTubes. So, all right, guys. Take care, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.